Hello, and welcome everyone to today's panel on student perspectives on research experiences for non-traditional students. Some motivation for today's talks. Research projects are almost universally recommended to build a student's knowledge of a topic, train them in the common tools of the field, and overall boost a student's confidence and sense of belonging and sense of direction for their degree program. However, non-traditional students can face obstacles participating in these more traditional research projects. Many of these require inflexible commitments like full-time participation, mandatory travel, and other aspects that are not feasible for all students. So this panel will focus on space-related research options and advice for students looking for a robust research experience, as well as wanting to balance careers, families, and other commitments. So on the panel today, we have some wonderful students from APUS, which is a fully online university and has a wide range of students from traditional and lots of non-traditional backgrounds. So today we will be hearing from Tyler, who is APUS SED's president and talking about the NASA LaSpace Academy, SE, analog astronaut with the APUS Analog Research Group, Ryan, trading coordinator for the APUS Supernova Search Program, James, APUS SED's vice president, discussing the NASA Radio Jove 2.0 project, Selena, team lead for the APUS Supernova Search Program, and Terry on the phone, I believe, which is, he is the assistant manager for the Wallace E. Boston Observatory, talking about the APUS Space Studies Research Program. So to start things off, we were going to go around and have the students introduce themselves and talk a little bit more about their background and projects. So Tyler, did you want to start us off?
Yeah, I can go ahead and kick things off. Well, thank you guys for having everybody here today. It's definitely an honor. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself. As mentioned, I'm Tyler Hines. I'm here to discuss the NASA L-Space Academy, specifically the Mission Concept Academy. I was able to participate that just recently in the summer of this year. I also run with the Analog Astronaut Research Group, as you'll hear about that as well. I'm currently the mission director for the third mission in that series, so definitely excited about what's going to be happening in the next week as we put a new crew in on their mission. And I'm a current undergrad in the Bachelor of Science in Space Studies with a concentration in aerospace science.
Thank you. SE, would you like to take the floor?
Hi. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Guthrie. I go by SE. And if you're willing to entertain me for a second, I do have just a quick little slide I want to show you just to talk about one of the programs I'm a part of as an online student, which is the APUS Analog Research Group. So real quick, if you just bear with me, I'm having a little bit of a connection problem here, as we're always experiencing technical difficulties when we're dealing with technology. Real quick. There we go. Oh boy. Well, there's my face. I did want to show you the first slide, which I was pretty impressed with myself for coming up with that. So as Dr. Millman said, I am part of the APUS Analog Research Group. My name is SE Guthrie. I'm a graduate student with American Military University, getting my degree in space studies with a concentration in astronomy. Within the APUS Analog Research Group, I'm also a mission specialist for the AGR-3I, which is going to be attending University of North Dakota ILMA starting on Wednesday of next week. I was a mission specialist for the second mission that the program had at ILMA back in May, and I am also the mission commander for the very first Mars Desert Research Station group, and the first female commander going for APUS. In addition to those duties, I'm also the recruitment coordinator, and I'm also the deputy mission commander to Tyler Hines, who spoke before me, on top of being a part of other little programs that we have there. Here is a very busy slide, but I am trying to cram as much information as I can in just 2 minutes while I have you. So you can see this, collage of pictures that we have here comes from our most recent missions. Across the top, we have all of our mission patches. We have ARG1 that happened in May of last year, ARG2, which also another one of our panelists, Terry Trevino, was our mission commander for, ARG3, which is going next week, which I will also be joining, and then 2 future missions. These are concept patches. Sorry, Scott Van Hoy, if you're listening. I know they're not approved, but I wanted to put something on the screen for our Mars Desert Research Station group. And we have a projected team going to the Aquarius Reef Base off of the coast of Florida on the seabed floor. So that will be our first Aquanaut analog that we'll be doing. As you can see from our pictures here, kind of going from left to right, I kind of tried to create a chronology of different, areas of science that we've been able to practice on these analogs, from botany to robotics to, studying suit interface, neurology, communication networks, rescues. We've also been able to do some youth outreach. If you can see across the bottom of the screen here, we have a concept for a harness for suit interface, for weight distribution. We did cognitive tests. We've done mobility tests, on top of doing just various EVAs with drones and other equipment. So I'm happy to entertain any questions anybody has about ARG, but I did want to try and get a little snapshot on there for you guys just to kind of understand what we do as a research group. And then here is our program manager, Scott Van Hoy. He's really kind of built this program from the ground up with the help of Dr. Kristen Miller, who is our faculty advisor and an amazing leader and mentor. We couldn't do any of this without her or be able to secure any grant funding to do our research projects. And then, of course, we are online. We do have various social media pages, and I'm happy to pass that information along if you would like it as well, if you'd like to engage and interface with us. So that's just a quick little brief about ARG and myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan and Selena, would you like to say a little bit?
Yes, I can share our screen here. Let's see, get this up here. So I'll have Selena go first here, if you will.
Okay, my name is Selena Pena. I'm a graduate student. I'm actually in the master's program currently, 2 classes away from graduating, so I'm pretty excited. My focus is in space studies with the focus is on astronomy. So I'm pretty excited. Like Sarah mentioned earlier, be part of the MDRS crew in January. So I want to continue my research. I know Ryan and I are both in the APUS Supernovae research group right now. And I feel like it's awesome because the program actually allows me to expand on more of the research in that area. So yeah, but pretty excited to be here.
Awesome. I will go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Ryan Nadolski. I'm an undergrad with American Military University, American Public University System. I'm a space studies major with a focus in astronomy. I am the current training coordinator for the Supernovae Search Program. On the outside, I think it's important to highlight this as a non-traditional research student. I am a real estate agent, and I run a company, a real estate company with my partners. And I do the recruitment and sales with that. I'm also a father. I've got a lot going on, so I enjoy the Supernova Search Program, and I think it's a great opportunity, being a non-traditional, which I'm sure we'll get into. But that's just a bit about me.
Thank you. James, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Milliman. My name is James Park. I am the VP with SEDS here at APUS University. The program that I've been doing research with is the NASA JOVE radio telescope, which observes radio emissions from Jupiter. And I got the kit in. I've assembled the kit. I didn't realize what it would take to build it all up. I have the structure to support this radio telescope, which is a dual dipole an antenna, and it was a lot of fun working with the kids to get out there and put everything together. And I really wish my slides were able to come out, but I had quite a few computer issues with that. I haven't had a chance to record any of the radio storms because after the assembly, I missed the observation window. I really look forward to sharing that with our SEDS meetings coming up. And I'm also in the process of setting up a computer to actually observe it because it uses Windows systems. I primarily use a Mac computer, and it's very interesting that NASA has opened this program up to use citizen science and contribute data for observation of Jupiter. And just to give a little more about myself, I missed that in the introduction. I'm a space studies student here at APUS, and my concentration is also astronomy. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Saving the best for last. Thank you, Dr. Miller.
Take the floor, Terry.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I think I'm a perfect example of kind of a non-traditional student out doing research. I also finished with the master's in space studies, and I specialize in aerospace science. However, I have to say, because I've been working with the observatory remotely for now the better part of almost 2 years, I really feel much more astronomer-like than aerospace science. Nonetheless, I'm here right now in Paris at the International Astronautical Conference, and the research that I'm doing remotely through our university, as a graduate researcher, is really enabling me to make all of these trips. I've gone to an analog astronaut conference. I went to the National Conference on Environmental Controls, ECLIS, and I had an exoplanet workshop that I went to down at Caltech in Pasadena that was sponsored by NASA and SETI. And so all of these things, to me, are just fascinating, right? I can't get enough of it. I feel like I'm a sponge. Like Ryan, real estate business for 33 years, transitioning out of the real estate business slowly because the phone keeps ringing. And 4 kids, raising those children in San Francisco, California with my rock star partner. She's amazing. And yeah, that's, we can talk about the research literally all night. The things I'm doing are spectacular. And it's all because of honestly, it started with you, Dr. Milliman, and then it's moved on to Dr. Miller and Dr. Nico Gossian, and then it went into Dr. Albine and asteroids, and it's just, Dr. Bizayev, it just goes on and on. It's spectacular. Anyway, we go on, but I'll let people ask questions if they like.
Yes, I also wanted to plug some of the websites that contain more information about these projects. So I'm putting links in the chat. Hopefully people can see that so that you could bookmark them, save them for later, and then also contact information if anyone is interested in getting involved or learning more about these informations and talking to anyone on these teams. So I had a question and for the panelists to start off, and I think this is mainly for Tyler and James. When I was a student, it feels like compared to then, there are so many more virtual and remote research opportunities available. So how did you go about finding these opportunities and making sure that they were a good fit for what you wanted to do?
I can kick that off, then I'll pass it to James after. I think that I could probably answer that best just because of the opportunity I had with L-Space recently. Um, with the limited availability that all of us really do have as non-traditional students, regardless of our background, you find these opportunities either through your own personal search or when you're involved in this kind of community of anybody related to space in the industry, you get these opportunities as well, and they point you in the right direction. I know that I had heard about L-Space specifically from even people like Sarah and many other individuals that I knew that were close in the industry, and they had suggested trying it out. It is definitely something that you have to take the initiative to find a lot of cases. But once you do find that opportunity, it's something that will definitely change your path and give you that upper edge. My own experience, even in the program, I could not find more than maybe 3 individuals from the APUS group. So out of all the hundreds of individuals that were involved in that program during the summer, you really do get a viewpoint of people asking you even then, okay, how does that work as a non-traditional student, or you're going to school online? You get a lot of questions more than you do in the involvement. So that was an eye opener. But as for finding those opportunities and making it work, that's something that you just have to make that initiative to find yourself if you don't have those connections already.
For my side of it, I got Radio Jove actually from Dr. Milliman, but I didn't really realize just how many opportunities were out there until I got involved with SEDS, and the information going back and forth in SEDS has opened up a lot of opportunities that both faculty here at the university share with students, but also another avenue that I found, other than just random Google searches, is that finding a professional society for whatever focus you're into can help offer opportunities. I joined the American Astronautical Society when I started here at APUS, and I had the opportunity to do a conference that they had on heliophysics graduate opportunities that they were soliciting applications for, trying to promote awareness. And that actually gave a lot more opportunities as well that I hadn't known to look for. So as Tyler said, there are a lot of things out there, and you're mostly going to find them by sharing with people who have the same interests you do, and using either the internet or groups involved with what you want to do.
Right. And then on the other side of that, for the panelists that have led or developed their own research projects, what was that kind of process like? Can you give some insight between, what was the gap between coming up with a question, finding the resources, and to actually having a project that you're now running?
I can just take a minute if you don't mind. I started working with a Martian synthetic regolith that I use and try desperately hard to, it's not very easy to grow things in, and I figured out a way to grow a mini, it's kind of, they call it a microgreen. It's in, NASA actually put out a directive last year, said, listen, we want to see researchers growing microgreens in different environments. We'd like to see lunar simulant, Martian simulant. And so I took the Martian side, and I took the Exolith Labs Martian, and it's MGS1S, which means it has a little more sulfate in it, hopefully to match the perchlorate that you find there. And it's possible. I did that at the University of North Dakota. I went into one of their habitats for a couple of weeks, and it worked. But that's just another example. There's all these little things you can do if you just focus, get it done.
So stepping back, Terry, you said that NASA put out a call. So what would a student do to get on those calls or to find those research initiatives that they could get inspired by?
Yeah, so if you follow the NASA astrobiology program, so you have to go onto their website and just type in astrobiology at the top. You can get on their email, and they send out and they have regular meeting schedules, and anybody can attend those meetings. So I popped in one day. I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And there was only 30 people on the call, and I got an opportunity to listen to the professionals, and I can't remember one of the astrobiologists was like, "We really want to see how you out there come up with different methodologies to particularly propagate microgreens." And I just ran with it. I used a little cocoon that I built, and I put sphagnum moss on the inside of it to hold the water so it didn't fly everywhere when you water on ISS, as an example. Then I mashed in the regolith, and I dropped the seed in, and boom, in 8 days we had edible radish leaves. Tasted like radish. Now, I'm not sure, I probably should have eaten it, but I had a couple just to taste. But we'd have to send that off to have that tested properly if we were to do that as a team. But just go onto the NASA website. There's loads of things like that. Just dig around. Just dig, play, enjoy.
If I may, I'd like to take a crack at that question. So just to make sure I got it right, is you're asking, how do we basically get started with the research project, right?
Exactly. So I know that for students, and like Tyler and James were saying, there are these kind of established programs that you can go out and try to participate in. And then I feel like at APUS that there's also these projects where you come up with a question and you can pursue them on your own, which seems like a huge hurdle, much so than locking into an already established program. So what's kind of the process like for that? If a student wants to pursue a question, what advice would you give, or what were the steps that you took to launch your own research project?
Sure. So, to other, online students, and I don't like to use the word non-traditional because I think it's 2022 and going to school online is now the new tradition. This is how we do business. This is how the government, the rest of, the Department of Defense is operating. We're teleworking, we're on home. This is our way of life. So I like to think of myself as a traditional student. But if you are online and you're like, I want to be able to do a research project, but how do I do that? The first thing I would offer is find yourself a mentor. Find a mentor within your community. And it doesn't have to necessarily be someone from your academic institution, just, someone that might have, a way to help guide you through that process. So for me, I'm the principal investigator on my research project is contingency EVA methodology. So what does that mean? It's basically on the lunar surface, what do you do if you have an incapacitated astronaut? What equipment do you use? What methodologies do you use? What is the protocol? How would we do that? And I can tell you right now, if you go and look at the Artemis program phase 1 concept of operations, it's a big question mark. They don't know. They're working on it, maybe, probably, but there's not a lot of literature written on it. So for me, the question became is, how can I contribute? I have a passion for space. My background is a little unorthodox, and so is my path to get to space. But I found an opportunity through mentors that said, this is all the experience you've had in the military. I've been active duty for 19 years. I've done combat tours to Iraq and Afghanistan. I've had some unique experiences that are really outside of my duty title and my scope of employment. And so I was able to kind of say, well, I've had these experiences and I know what we did in the Air Force and I know what we did in combat operations. How can we apply that to the space or the moon program? And so that's basically how I came up with my question is, what is the process? And I started to do some research. And then I found the big NASA question mark. And the big NASA question mark in the concept of operations is they know that they need a process. They know that they need whatever device is used has proper suit interface. And then we started exploring. And then I reached out to, for other guidance, fellow people across the services in the Army, the Navy, and the Marines. My dad, who's retired Army, he's also an educator with a PhD. My spouse, Terry, is a huge mentor to me, and got me in this program. And so I'm like, in the deployed areas, we use a medical sled. Why can't we use a medical sled on the moon? So we tried it at ILMA, and we have our dummy named Kurt, and we did that. And so I say all that to say is, what are you passionate about, and where your skills and your talents lie? And then take those things and then say, who can I have help me write out this question and this problem? That's the scientific process, right? The scientific method is, what is the question? And you want to research it and you want to test it. And so that's what we're doing at ARG is we're taking the scientific method to a lot of these problems, like what Terry's doing. It's how do you grow food in it's not even soil, technically, it's regolith. How do you grow food on an uninhabitable planet if we want to, eventually live there? And so you find the smarties and the literature and you bounce it off some friends and you test it out over and over and over again, so that would be my advice to our online students. And I'm always happy to give you my contact information if you want to talk out some ideas, or maybe I can help you find someone within the community that would be a little bit smarter than me on it.
Thank you. Did anyone else have thoughts or advice on that topic?
If I could, Sarah, I believe, hit it spot on, especially reaching out to mentors. I know when I started the Supernovae research group, it was almost like it opened up a rabbit hole of like other things that I wanted to know more about. So it helped me to, start focusing more on, variable stars a little bit more. And I honestly had no clue. I've never heard of a HADS variable star, and I'm going to admit that, but I did a lot of research, reached out to mentors. I know I have a few here that I talked to, like Terry, Dr. Miller. I did reach out to someone else in another program who actually, that's what he does. So he's been helping me. So this way, when I go forward in my research in our mission, I can carry out the studies or the observations there, do the imaging, and be able to get the readings for this particular HADS variable star that I'm working on. So again, finding those resources and reaching out even to like your professors. I mean, great resources out there and very helpful. So again, Sarah, you hit it spot on when you said mentors. So.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm going to attribute all of, my interest and love for what I'm doing to, I gotta be honest, Dr. Milliman, first class, it was a master's program, and I hadn't been in school for 33 years at the time. And I remember saying to you, hey, this is the first time I've done this in a while. I really, don't remember how to even write. And I think your comment was, you'll figure it out, just stay with it. And here I am, right? I'm degreed, doing tons of research, and I can't thank anybody but Dr. Milliman for not, there's a word they used to use when you kick someone out of the military, but, I felt like that was an opportunity for that to happen, and it didn't happen, so I stuck with it. I did reach out to Dr. Miller for the opportunity to manage the telescope. There were so many things I did, and I know quite a few people on this call, on this panel, and all of them are, amazing people. I think that's the other thing. You want to be with people that are just amazing, to go out and do great things. Even the small things are great things. Anyway, there you are. There's my take.
Thank you, Terry. Excellent student. You've got the flattery down. Speaking to what you were saying and coming in as a student researcher, how do you guys handle setbacks if the research isn't going well or things are getting overwhelming, or you do have a little stumbling block to work through? Did you have any advice on how to handle that for trying all of this new stuff and stuff that doesn't necessarily have an answer?
I have an example. So when we were in ILMA in May, one of the parts of my project just didn't work. It completely failed and flopped, just bad. And that was really disappointing for me because you spend a lot of time, and energy and your personal finances, right? To put these projects together in hopes that, man, you've got some really groundbreaking ideas, and then it completely flopped. And I remember being, at ILMA with Terry and my other two crew members, Keith and Lex, and I just, I was really kind of annoyed by it, and just talking with them, and we just kind of determined, all data is good data, even though it failed. We learned something new from that, and if we understand why it failed, then we can move on, but if your project is failing, it's not going the way that you need to, look at it more as an opportunity, for learning, and don't look at it as being a setback at all. That would be my advice, because I don't believe in setbacks.
I actually think I can answer this
I don't want
question as well. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Didn't mean
James,
to
I don't want
jump
to
into
I don't want to overtake the conversation. I'll let you go. Sorry. Go ahead.
this. Now, I haven't encountered any setbacks with research exactly. However, life gets in the way, right? So as an online student, you're juggling work, and in my case, a family. I've got 2 toddlers, right? So juggling that, being a full-time student and this research opportunity, it presents its challenges. And with the Supernova Search program specifically, you need a lot of eyes, and it helps having a lot of eyes because you can take a step back and still participate in a reduced manner, and that's what being the training coordinator is about. It's not just training the new people that ask to be a part of the group. It's also helping those students that are suffering from life being overwhelming, so to speak, and having to take a step back because we may, for example, the exoplanet research changed programs, software. So those things can happen, and it's up to team leads and myself as a training coordinator to get those people back up to speed and help them in any way that we can, with them still maintaining their spot on the team. You don't have to take a break, you can take a break versus having to take a completely different route where you're not even involved anymore, and that's what we don't do. We try to stay away from getting people completely out. We want them to still maintain their position. So I think that's where I think I can answer that in a life aspect instead of a research setback, more so a personal individual setback.
Can I add something real quick too? I had a failure that came in today. It was A Thalliana, and it did not grow the way I expected under the test. The control did amazing. The test was terrible. And real quick story, I built an electromagnetic wave pulse generator, and I threw these plants inside of it just to see how they do. It's a really low EM field. The wave itself is very low power. And today it was a failure. And I had to present that today to IAC, to 100 people in my presentation. And what can you do? You just say, hey, we failed. What I failed on particularly was, I think it was the light. There was a shadow that was being cast on part of the test subjects. There you are. Life gets in the way. You just keep going, keep testing. Good one, Ryan.
So Scott Von Hoy asked a question in the chat on how do you expect these opportunities to help your job marketability?
I think I can answer that as well. I'm so sorry. I'll let Sarah go first.
I don't know. I'm just laughing because Scott, Scott is, I think, prompting us a little bit. He's our program manager for ARG. So, but I'll let you take that one, Ryan. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take.
No worries, no worries. So a little bit about my background. I am the recruiter essentially for our company, and as from a hiring standpoint, any research opportunity looks good on a resume, and definitely looks good on a CV. Specifically for the APUS Supernova research, our tools that we use are Google Sheet with our data analysis. The fact that we use Slack, the fact that it's all group work, albeit the analysis portion is individual. You're still working with a group, working around other people's analysis, and sometimes double checking and overlapping that research. Anything looks good on a resume that has to do with Google Workspace, Microsoft Office. And so it doesn't even matter what field you go into, it's just any field really, but specifically those kinds of items on your resume and in a group setting, it shows that you're willing to work with other people, no matter what the subject, and you know how to use basic tools that most companies will use.
Yeah, and I would just like to add what Ryan was saying. It's 22, right? It's 2022. Everybody does everything online. And so recently I was able to talk to my friend Carl Starr, who you guys all probably heard already. He's the mission operations manager for the James Webb Telescope. And he's also an AMU alumni. And one of the things that we discussed is how AMU and APUS, being an online school, sets you up for the real world, right? You do everything online, you have to learn time management, you have to learn how to communicate with people who you're geographically separated from. You have to learn how to use a lot of tools and programs all online, a lot of Microsoft Office work products and things. So you end up becoming very savvy doing those things. And then how well can you work, with a team and maybe be by yourself if you're teleworking and be able to prioritize your projects. And so being part of research projects like this in an online setting, I think definitely also helps you. And so if you're looking to apply those to your resume, and just to echo, what he mentored to me is put all of that on there, because what it articulates to employers is that you have the tools to be able to adapt to today's environment. And today's environment right now is teleworking and working from home. And maybe it's not all the time, but it's part of the time. And can you be entrusted to complete projects, with very maybe minimal supervision, and be able to have task order management and to work with all of these programs, and do them maybe geographically separated from the rest of your team. And so that's how I would say these things help out your marketability, is because it also shows that you can be independent as well. You can work part of a team, but you can also be an independent worker. And so that would be my advice, on top of getting a mentor as well. But that's how I think it, for online students, and especially if you're just starting out or maybe even starting again, that AMU and APUS are really setting us up, I think, for success for today's employment environment, which is very heavily online and computer-based. Does that kind of answer your question?
I would also like to add, I completely failed to mention, one of the bonuses of being in a research group, especially one of the Supernova Search program. We host all hands meetings once a month, and not too long ago we hosted a resume and CV workshop where we went over these things in depth, and items to include on your resume or CV, and how they differ. And it's a good opportunity for students who are getting ready to graduate, going into the field, or are still, in the process of getting their degree and are already in the field and looking to promote within, or looking to transfer to another company, and they just don't know how to get that resume beefed up essentially, and looking really, really, really good by utilizing the research programs. So that's just another added bonus to some of these online programs, and even regular research programs, in person, more traditional. I know SC doesn't like that, but yeah, so I think that's a good bonus to that.
I'd like to jump on that real quick too. Just like what Ryan and Sarah had said, for adapting to the modern, workforce, you have to, there are things that are shifted on what you look for as an employer. And that being the case, even with my own experience in L-Space, the weekly meetings that we were supposed to take part in would either be a guest speaker or a development case of some sort. And one of those was actually resume building. And they reiterated the entire time that taking part in these kind of programs, when you're applying for a job and you have something as NASA or L-Space that pings on your resume, that is going to set you above everybody else. And you do have to apply, even if it's not in the best, you have people all across the country that are doing the same project. You are having to apply all of these different skills and learn new ones at the same time. For example, I'm not an engineer by trade, but I had to learn very quickly many aspects of that and apply that. And it helped develop myself. I think as a project manager that I was taking part in, you really do develop quickly in those cases, and they do take note of that as employers looking to hire you.
Yeah, I just to add one more time to what Tyler is saying, I'm so glad that you talked about L-Space, because I had the opportunity to do L-Space last year, and I was the only online student. Everybody else was like what you would say a traditional brick and mortar student, and all undergrads. And I was probably the oldest person in there by about 15 years. And it was really difficult, for them on my team. They would talk about their struggles of like, I just, I don't know if I can, do this and go to school. And I'm like, well, that's all you got going on? I've got 3 kids. I'm married. I have full-time job, active duty commitments. I'm in 3 classes right now. I'm doing L-Space, and so it was an opportunity, I think, for me to be able to tell them, like, this is what adulting is. And I think, again, being with AMU, the nice thing is I'm not strapped to the classroom. I can allow the classroom to kind of fit into my schedule. And then that makes me, I think, a better student too, because when I was going to like Embry-Riddle or Louisiana Tech, I would work the night shift all night and then go to school, get out from work at 8 in the morning and go to school from 9 to 12. And somewhere in there, I got to do homework and then go back to work. I just wasn't a very good student. So again, just putting a plug, that the online schools, that, I think is the best way to set people up, for success, I think, in today's environment.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tyler.
Again, I was going to reiterate again what Sarah had mentioned. The toughest thing, especially for anybody coming from different backgrounds, is trying to find time for that. And it's, let alone just trying to make schoolwork happen. You also have life, you have everything else, but let alone trying to find internships or different opportunities, right? So I can't speak for any, they're all the same, they're all different. There's many different aspects to an internship or a research opportunity. But the fortunate thing that I found with L-Space is they were very open from the very beginning, in the first meeting, actually, that they understand that life does happen, that things do come up. The only thing they would ask is be transparent, work as a team, and that is the biggest thing that NASA actually looked for in developing that program of L-Space. Is they want to see that you work as a team, but they understand that there are things that come first and there are priorities that do happen. And they were very understanding a few times. Even if you have a role in that program with responsibilities as a manager or lead engineer or lead scientist, if something would come up, as soon as someone found out, they would tell everybody, and that was passed on, and they completely understood. There was no shame, there was no issue. They completely worked with it, and you still got to accomplish the goals. So in some of those cases, it is very beneficial. So it's good to look back on that and realize, okay, this is going to be real life. That is how it's going to really be.
Excellent advice all around. Thank you, guys. This kind of motivated about your time management philosophy. So as you guys, many of you mentioned, there's a lot on your plate, especially as online students. I know the flexibility is kind of what draws students to APUS. And so when you're adding these other topics onto it, and especially research projects, because a lot of them will take up as much time as you give them. So how do you kind of balance it all? What are some of the, your main guiding principles? Selena, did you want to take this first?
Yeah, not to sound OCD, but I have my schedule up on my my thing there because balancing work, I do work remote from home, teaching almost 50 8th graders science. I do have 3 children, but my 3-year-old does stay home with me. So I do have a family, school, the research group, and homework and myself. And yeah, and then trying to get all my research stuff. I have to like pick my times, like, okay, this is coming first. I'm not saying my family's coming last or anything like that, but as far as what I have time for, okay, I have time for this, so I'm going to work a little bit on this. So it's more of a time management for me. Like I said, I keep my calendar and have to keep, for me personally, I like my visual, my times. I don't know if that's just me being an educator. And I'm like, okay, pacing. This is the only time I'm allotted for teaching, but it's a lot of back and forth. So a lot of times, even when I'm teaching remote, if I'm not doing a live lesson, I'm like flopping back and forth with my other things I'm got to get done, whether it's homework in my class, taking a break, go take the baby for a walk or push on the swing just to get out of the house. So I make sure I just kind of time everything for me. So like I said, not trying to sound OCD, but for me, that's what works for me. And then I don't feel so bombarded, I guess.
I don't want to like keep talking over everybody, but I have lots of thoughts and feelings on these subjects. So as far as like time management goes, I think you have to kind of like, what Selena was saying, put it on the wall, but like, I would say, what is the most important thing to you and what is your goal, right? And so, for me, everyone always says, oh, family is super important, and like, of course it is, it's super important. But you are important too, right? So include yourself as part of that conversation. You're also part of your family, right? And so, for me, I'm kind of I want to say the breadwinner, but, being in the military is how I take care of my family, it's the job security, it's the medical and everything like that. So my priority is my family and it's also my career, and so with that, you have to kind of like make some choices, with like school and your career and your family and then your personal life and things. And so for me, when it came to like the end of the line, and I was looking at retirement and I was looking at like how much I needed to give back to my family, right? Because at the end of the day, when you've graduated from school, when your research project is over, when you've retired from your career, you want your family to still be standing there, right? Or your support system, or whatever is the most important thing to you. So as an online student, I think it gives you a lot of flexibility where you don't have to make so many sacrifices, but then at the same time, you have to say, okay, what is the most important thing? I would love to have my degree completed by X time, but to do it by X time means I have to take 2 classes at a time, and I can't manage that. I just, maybe I can't, and so you have to just kind of say, okay, this is my goal, but this is my priority, right? And it's the same thing with your research projects. You know, I would love to test my research out a billion times in a billion places, but my priority is my family, and my goal is to do this research project. But I can't always, you know, do both. And so you just have to, I think, as far as time management goes, is kind of like keep that on the wall, right? You know, some people say put a picture of your family or dog or whatever it is on the wall so you see it every single day. And so that's what I have, you know. I have a picture of Buzz Aldrin's footprint on the moon because that's my goal. And my priority is my kids and my husband, right next to it. So I always have those when I'm doing my homework and I'm looking at those two things. And sometimes you have to have those little internal conversations to say, okay, I'm going to stay up really late so I can finish this homework, so I can take my kid to that birthday party at that bounce house tomorrow, because that's what's important to her. You know, so that's probably not as I probably don't sound as organized as Selena is, but I think you just have to take it day by day sometimes.
That's me. I'm a fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah. Sorry, I was gonna also add, and you would know what your limits are. And if you feel overwhelmed, I usually take a step back and I'm like, okay, I have to change something. So again, you would know what you can handle as far as okay, what do I need to change here because this is not working. So there's times that I've had to do that.
Yeah, and there was someone in the chat, Michael. I sent a response. I don't know if they see it when we respond, but he had said that he was struggling. And you know, I'm kind of at this point, you know, I kind of think if I start to hit a wall of resistance, maybe that's the universe telling me to take a step back. You know, take a step back and look at the bigger picture and breathe for a minute, you know, because maybe I'm the reason why, you know, I'm struggling, you know, and it's not all this other stuff, it's me, you know. And if you start to pile onto yourself just too many commitments, you're just not going to be able to focus and keep all those plates in the air. So sometimes you just got to reduce and just, you know, cut out the things that are just, it's really just not that important right now, or, you know, or just give up on a couple of those short-term goals for the long-term ones.
Yeah, I think I can add to that as well. I'm probably the most unorganized person on this panel. I you know, although, you know, I've got, you know, the two daughters, both toddlers, 3 and 2. You know, got real estate, you know, class. I'm taking 3 classes right now, 2 ending on Sunday, and then 2 more that start up, I believe, next week or the following week after. So constantly busy, and I think I've got it better in terms of work because I get to work from anywhere. I think I'm constantly, or I know I'm constantly checking my email. I don't go to bed till probably midnight. Wake up at 5 and just start over, repeat. But you know, if you find the time, and if you know what you want and why you're doing it, like SC said, then you can accomplish it. You know, your goal and your why. There's a book called 7 Reasons of Why, and I encourage everybody to read it, because it really helps drive your goals. And there's different levels, but I won't go too much into that. But yeah, I mean, I think that you know, you can accomplish anything as long as you know your limits, like Selena said. And this is what we're doing here as online students. We all have lives, very, very, very busy lives. So I think it's important to, you know, remember why we do it. And we all have our own personal reasons.
I think support systems are also, you know, a good way to help with time management. I'm going to call out Tyler on this one because he's been a big supporter for me, because we've been working on these missions together, and we've been working together for such a long time. And sometimes I have to lean on him and be like, I just can't get to this. I need your help. And that's that's the only way it's going to get done. You know, and he's always stepped up for me, and we try to do that for each other. And that's the other great thing with being a part of AARG. And we're all online, right? So we all understand the struggles. We all understand, you know, it's like to have kids and family and responsibilities. And so I would say as a research student, and an online student, that's a great support system. And I think that's a great way to help you also manage, your time as well. As if you've got people that you can lean on to help you get through those processes so you can, get those things done.
I also think that builds to what a lot of you have been saying about these different topics is communication and the ability and kind of maybe even the courage to like reach out to people that you've never talked to before, going into meetings where you don't know anybody, or, Terry was saying, getting on that phone call, sending those emails. Did any of you have difficulty like sending those kind of cold emails, or have tips to share on how to, like, if someone is looking for a mentor or looking to start a research project, like how should they start that email if they're having some struggles with it?
Okay, since nobody piped up, I'll just keep talking. As far as like cold emails, I think you just gotta pull your bootstraps up and be a little brave sometimes and take chances. If you want to reach out to someone, you're like, hey, in your heart, you're thinking that this person might be a good touch point for you, then why not? Because obviously there's something about them that you think is good and that would be helpful. And I've never been a part of a group of people that have just been so kind. The space community is just amazing people. And anytime you throw out the like help, and they're like, what do you need? Kind of thing. I know a guy, Terry, he's the guy that knows all the guys, right? So if you need to get in touch with someone, you need to be in touch with Terry because he knows all the people in the industry.
I will always help. Yeah.
And he will always answer.
I do know a lot of people.
So
but it's Sarah, it's because of you and my relationship and Ryan, Selena, we've built these relationships over the couple of years. It's not like we've been around each other for donkey's years. It's Tyler, another one, right? I mean, it takes a team, and when I need help, I know who to call. It's you guys, it's whomever, it's Brent. This whole AMU, APUS experience has been spectacular, but it is the online community. If you don't, you've got to make the effort. You've got to stick your arm in the hot water, see what happens.
Yeah, that's another added benefit with being in an online community, is because you're going to have such an exposure to all different backgrounds and skill sets and communities that way. I mean, if we were all at the same school in the same town in the same state, you would probably have like a little bit of a smaller, sphere of influence, but like having everybody everywhere all the time. We're located all over the world. Terry's in Paris right now, schmoozing people. He's going to find people for you. So, and he has amazing skill sets. So we all have something different to crossbreed all of that knowledge and experience with each other. And so we're going to find someone. So I would just say, to your root question, just do it. Just go for it. And sometimes a little winky face emoji, might go a long way.
Yeah, I'd add to that. It really is one of those things. You just gotta do it. It really is. You can't, double guess any of that. Sometimes it turns out better than you can ever imagine. Personally, many of my own mentors, it was just a basic message, LinkedIn or anything like that, and it just happens. And then from that, it stems into a relationship, and you get another mentor, and then another conversation, and it just snowballs into something that really does help you along the way. And even in them, you kind of have to explain like, okay, well, this is what I'm studying. This is what my goals are. And nobody in the real world, once they realize what your background, that is not a factor. They see the drive that you put into reaching out and that you went out of your way to make that connection. That is what's going to get you there. So that's the biggest thing that at least I've noticed, is that your background really is not the main factor. It's what's the progression of going to where your goals are and making those connections along the way to get there. That's the big thing.
Sarah's not going to tell you she's on a mission right now. She's literally heading over to Selma. Aren't you too, T?
Yeah. Who?
I'm not. No,
No,
I'm not
Ty
going.
Ty's not going.
You had to throw that in there.
I had to put
Yeah.
that. You know, this is
We do.
recorded.
We do
Of
know
course
each
it
other.
is. The 20 plus people are going to see that. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not going this one, unfortunately. I wish I was, but I have MDRS to look forward to.
I was going to say we've got MDRS coming up.
Got my plate full.
That's right, me and Selena.
So can you guys say a little bit more about that? So what's next for the analog missions or the Supernova Search Program or the Radio Jove project? What are kind of some of the next steps that are coming up for you guys in terms of these research projects and your space journey?
I can do the MDRS. That's coming soon. MDRS is last week of January, first week of February, and I'm the flight director on the project, and mission participants are all here on the phone. And excuse me, I know we're not on the phone, but I am. It's a great community. I would say everybody should jump into AARG. I'm also in the Supernova group, and honestly, it's where I kind of cut my teeth. That's where I started. I knew something was missing, and I just wasn't getting that connectivity that you get with the research. So I just stuck my neck out, and sure enough, here I am, almost 3 years later, graduate with, and then looking, nobody knows this, but I'm taking more classes to get my my second master's and hopefully a PhD one day. But if anybody else wants to jump in on the mission, MDRS, that you've got loads of people to query here.
Yeah, I actually came to AARG through the Supernova group and met Selena first and Terry. And Terry was the one that was like, hey, we're making this group. You want to be an astronaut? I was like, yeah, I want to be an astronaut. He's like, come over here with me, and so that's how that kind of started. But yeah, me, Tyler, Selena, and Terry are all part of the MDRS that's happening in January. And that's gonna be really exciting. Mars Society, it's a really big deal. It's a habitat in the middle of nowhere of Utah, and it's beautiful, and it's meant to look just like the Martian landscape. So one of the great thing about analogs, especially in all the different environments and locations they're in, you get another little piece of data set. And so being at MDRS is going to give us a whole new data set, with being in a more isolated, primitive environment. We're going to be doing a lot more different science there, especially with astronomy and studying the sun and photography, which is super cool. And we're going to be doing EVAs across the mountains, freezing our butts off, and everything. So it's going to be really cool to do that. We're going to be doing seeds that were flown in space. I mean, how cool is that? Thanks to Tyler. So that's the MDRS mission. But right now, our 10-meter target right now is we're all leaving this weekend to go back to the University of North Dakota to do some exciting science there at that analog habitat. We'll be doing some suit enhancement, mobility efficiency for EVAs, some more rescues of Kurt. We're going to be doing some electrolysis studies, some mushroom studies, and some other plant life type studies while we're there. And also, another really important thing is mindfulness and meditation for long-term spaceflight duration. So that's a continuation study that's going across all of our analogs right now with all of our crews in different habitats. So, and then a little bit further into the future, we do have our Aquarius reef-based mission, which will be all of our aquanauts that will be diving down to the seabed floor in Florida to live in a tiny little like submarine-like thing on the seabed. And they're going to be doing really exciting science underwater. So that is going to be super cool. So those are kind of like our long-term goals with ARG.
James, did you want to say next step for the Radio Jove project?
Of course, next steps are getting the recordings out and getting them uploaded to NASA's website, and learning more about using the radio telescopes to do more than just Jupiter observations. It can also be used to work with galactic storms or observations of the sun.
Selena or Ryan, the Supernova Research Group.
Yes, I will let Selena talk about, we have a slide that we'd like to show. I will let Selena start here.
Beautiful background. No, I was kidding. Well, for those of you who don't know, that's the Wallace E. Boston Observatory. So that's the telescope we get to, well, not us per se, but that's where we get our images from. So a lot of times we try to hit more than once a week if we can, if weather permits it, gathering images. I know, I forget, I don't know, Terry, maybe you might know which locations we look at. I've totally spaced it.
Yeah.
But
well, just the good question. Everywhere on we don't look towards Washington, D.C. or Baltimore.
yeah.
It's just terrible. It is terrible air. And Dr. Bellarmine, I heard that. And you know, you guys can throw out anything, and I'll go out and look for it. And I know Dr. Miller and we're working as often as we can on it. It's funky air. It's kind of I like to say creamy air. It's just got this wetness to it that, you know, I always have this weird little wet, you know, so it disturbs and distorts the images. Nonetheless, we get it done, and that's the beauty of the Supernova Project. We just keep going. We'll find one.
Yeah. So I did include it. Actually, those are from our website. I know you guys, we did post it there and it's in the chat. Those are a couple of variable stars there. But I know once we gather the images, Dr. Miller or Terry will push out, hey, we have some awesome images. And we do have 2 teams. So I know I'm team lead 1, Terry is team lead 2. So we notify our team, our group about images. So it's pretty cool. It gives everyone the hands-on experience of blinking these images and looking for anything that just kind of looks at, you know, it wasn't there, but is there now, you know, just getting a feel of that. And then sometimes I know if they question anything, they'll reach out to us if hey, here's the coordinates, and we have questions for maybe group 1, image 30, or whatever number it is. So I know that's where Terry and I will jump in and try to pull it up on other additional resources that we have access to. And I know we try to let the team know, because Simbad is a great tool to look up anything as well. If you have any questions, just putting in the coordinates. But other than that, I mean, we've been getting a lot of images. The teams have been working hard on it. Like Ryan mentioned earlier, we don't expect you to do like every single image. You know, just do what you can. We understand life gets busy. And there's plenty of people in our group that will help, you know, pick up the slack. Sometimes I know Terry or myself will jump in and start gathering and looking at some of those images as well. So, but that's just a little snippet of what we do. And I know there on the website, there's publications that are there from some of our team members, other sample images. So you guys will have to take a gander, and there's other research programs on there as well. I know we have our exoplanet one. So again, don't hesitate to check it out. We'd love to see more people in there as well.
Yeah, thank you, Selena. I'd like to also discuss the training aspect as well. I don't know how other programs train, but what we do is very simple. You know, we have a request come in via email, and or from a class. If Dr. Milliman, you'll direct them, I know, to email, and Dr. Miller as well. But for example, we had a team member now trained up request, to join through Terry. So that, any we can capture them from any aspect, but what we'll do is we'll schedule a Zoom meeting, just like this one, and we'll have a couple set images, and we'll just go through the process of the data analysis over Zoom using the Aladdin program. We also do a lot of work on or through the Google Workspace via Google Sheets. That's where we plug in all of our data analysis. That's how we track who is doing what image group, and what set of images in that image group, and if there is anything that is a possible detection. If there's nothing to report, then they'll put that in the comment section. Otherwise, they'll put the right ascension and declination of that object in that comment section with the image number. So on the training side, we'll go through that. We will also get them involved in the Slack channel. So we utilize Slack to put out all of our announcements of new images. We also, have conversations with each other, random conversations about anything about space. It doesn't have to be about the Supernova Research Program, or specifically. It can, we had conversations when the JWST was launched and things like that. It's a great networking opportunity as well through Slack. And most big companies now are shifting towards those type of communication platforms. WhatsApp, Slack, and Discord. Those are the three main group message platforms that big companies are using. So it's a good, we train them on that, and but using those tools is good for them. And like we spoke about earlier, job marketability. It's pretty much it about training. It's kind of a bore if you go too deep into it without interest, but I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much. Jacob asked a question in the chat. I think we are running a little short on time. So Essie, thank you for responding to Jacob. I think if you're interested in getting involved in all of these programs, there's definitely, for all types of backgrounds, all type of interest level, all type of experience level, I would say just reach out to the coordinators and we can find you something to do and something of interest. But Tyler, did you want to say briefly? I didn't want to skip you.
In regards to involvement? For
what's next for LaSpace? What's next for you? Did you want to say any comments?
I think I got my plate full right now with MDRS, preparing for that, finishing out this mission right now for ARC3I. It's definitely been interesting. I've got a lot to look forward to. I actually have another internship that I'm flying out day after tomorrow in Florida. So that'll hopefully turn into something really well for the next 6 weeks. So just a lot going on. And like many of you, being in school full time, it's definitely a challenge in a lot of areas, but when these opportunities come up, you have to take advantage of them. And that's hopefully what I'll be doing.
Thank you. And thank everybody for attending the talk. And I hope we were able to give you, well, the panelists were able to give you some good perspective on what it's like for being a online student, a student with a lot of external responsibilities, and how to incorporate really robust and engaging research experiences into packed schedules and outside commitments and full-time careers and those sorts of things. And if you have any follow-up questions or want to get in touch, please reach out to me or the panelists. And I try to post a lot of websites and contact information in the chat as well. So I hope you guys are inspired and pursue your own research questions in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Milliman, as always.
Thank you guys so much for participating.
Au revoir.
Thank you.
Thank
Enjoy
you,
the rest of-
everyone, and we hope to see you tomorrow.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.